I told you.
It's been a while. A month or so ago, my white American friend and I had lunch at a Korean spot in Bogota. Now, I know it sounds like I'm crossing a whole lot of cultural barriers already, but what transpired at lunch will prove otherwise. Anyway, someone told my friend to try it out, and having lived in South Korea myself, I was game from the start. Plus, a brother stay hungry. We arrived, got seated, ordered, and started to catch up. Until one of the owners came and started to talk with my friend. And homeboy got real comfortable. He pulled out a chair, took his glasses off, started leaning back when he was talking, and I started thinking to myself, homeboy ain't going nowhere. So they're having their Spanish conversation and everything's regular until the elderly Korean man starts to ask my white American friend about me, as if I wasn't sitting at the same table. Now at this point, I'm obliged to join in on the conversation, especially if I can speak for myself. So I chime in and ask the Korean man in Spanish, what part of South Korea are you from? And is your hometown close to Busan? And he gives me a disenchanted no. Takes a quick pause, gets up and walks away from the table. Now, my white American friend and I both assumed that I must have offended him somehow. Unfortunately, my white American friend didn't realize that I had offended him as soon as I walked into the restaurant. It was me, not the conversation. It was at that moment that my white American friend had caught a glimpse of the reality that I live in. But how do I explain to him what we had just experienced? Honestly, I have found no other book that captures my sentiments such as this gem, Tears We Cannot Stop, A Sermon to White America, by Eric Dyson. Now I'll start this portion of the video by giving a brief description of the author, tie in a few haymakers that he has in the book, and ultimately tie it all in with the experience of being black in America. Now I was put onto Eric Dyson when my younger brother Caleb put me onto a video that debated the following statement: hip-hop doesn't enhance society, it degrades it. Now, Dr. Eric Dyson was the front man for the stance that I agreed with. Later on, I found out that he's an ordained minister, opinion writer, author, father, university professor, best all around. But in spite of all of his accolades, success, and notoriety, which he rightfully deserves, he, among other successful African-American men and women, are not exempt from the systemic oppression that has been plaguing America and specifically the black community. Dyson even said in the book, black success often breeds white rage. What I really admire about this book is that although he prescribes to the format of a sermon, it actually reads like a diagnosis from a doctor. Here's a few reasons why I chose this analogy. One, Dyson has taken on the call and challenge of reigniting a very truthful, hard and painful conversation with white America. And to the same extent, medical doctors are often required to give honest assessments on the physical and mental well-being of their patients. And those combos are just as difficult. Two, what Dyson addresses to white America is urgent, and if it goes unchecked, America ceases to be the most influential country in the world. Just like doctors give the inevitable consequences if proper steps aren't followed. Three, Dyson reminds the reader that American history is in fact black history. And this has made us black folk professionals to the standards that white America has set for themselves, and more importantly for us African Americans. As far as doctors, they tend to know your body way better than you do, and you've been living with it all your life. What I can say about this book without giving too much away is that Dyson is extracting from current hip-hop, R&B songs, and instances of police brutality, and his own experiences that have happened within the last 3 years that have given light to the ongoing systemic oppression that has been happening in America. Also, he brings up the issue of whiteness in a way that I've never thought about before. He mentions that the construct of whiteness is invisible and universal, and consequently, white folks get all in their feelings when race is discussed because at that moment, a different perspective is brought to the table to challenge what you thought was objective and neutral with regards to race relations. For me, I realized that the term white was created after the term black came around. So basically, calling oneself a white man or a white woman does imply some sense of superiority. Well, why not the same outcome when someone calls themselves black man or black woman? Well, I'm glad you asked. It is because black was a term that's used for pride and self-worth, and the only thing that it really opposed was degradation. And furthermore, Dyson gives white America a peek into two conversations that black folk can have. One, conversations amongst black folk in a trusted black space, i.e. talking about black on black crime. And two, conversations that black folk have with white America, i.e. Black Lives Matter. Now, black on black crime, this is a very true and real issue that we need to deal with. Now, one of the reasons why black folk talk about it in a trusted black space is because white folks usually use the same issue to passively detach from even engaging in any real progressive change. It's almost as if we're silenced if we bring up anything other than black on black crime. But do you really care, white America? Really? I remember my other white American friend telling me how her dad felt about Black Lives Matter. And his response, I can understand the reasons behind Black Lives Matter, but there's still black on black crime. And these crimes, they're not crimes of passion. These are crimes that come out of desperation. I'll give you an example. My older brother Ricky told me a story about how one of our friends got robbed during the holidays. He was with his kids in his car late night, and a man pulled a gun up to him and said, "Give me all your money." Our friend said, "Hey, I got 3 kids in the back seat." And the robber really couldn't see him because it was dark. The robber, his reply was, "So do I." Our friend reached in his pocket, gave the robber some money. The man took it and wept uncontrollably. You see, if you look at that situation and take away the question why, you ultimately remove the humanity of those who are ultimately pushed to desperate measures. And we got the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, this is the national conversation with white America with regards to police brutality and marginalization. This movement is emphasizing the outcry that black Americans been had since my ancestors were dragged to America. The message hasn't changed. White America just ain't trying to hear it. And you have cops and other citizens of white America who declare that I disagree with the Black Lives Matter movement. So this boils down to the whole throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because you don't like how we riot, we don't like how we protest, but how else are we supposed to react when we see people that look like me dying on the street at the hands of cops, people who are sworn to protect and serve? And please miss me with all of that Blue Lives Matter. No one chooses their ethnicity, but you do choose your profession. In conclusion, Dyson has not only weaved these two conversations that black folk have into the here and now, he also gives some practical solutions to help redeem America from the turmoil that has happened thus far. I'll mention one solution that I mentioned on a radio show here in Bogota even before I read this book. Befriend black people. Look, white America has to ask themselves these questions. Am I listening to them? Do I understand their plight? What intimate spaces am I sharing with them other than office space? Do I really care about them? Look, my white American friend that I had lunch with cares, but I still need him to understand the xenophobia and discrimination that I still experience, whether I'm having lunch in the States or not. Black folk are resilient, and we face way worse. However, there's still a long way before America even starts to become great. This has been the Black Curriculum.
Yo, some ask me if I feel the Zionists are real, and in my songs do I plan to expose and reveal. Word to the curb that's under these chrome wheels. My homies is the only ones I'm taking care of.